All righty. Welcome to day one-ish. Thank you all for those that joined last night. I think it was extraordinary. It was mind-blowing. I think we had some really smart people talking about a lot of what's new and where there are extraordinary opportunities for us to lean in as patient advocates and really start driving efforts, leveraging a lot of what's new out there to just, start accelerating all the important work that we know we need to get going on. So today is going to be deep diving in a lot of these topics. I think everything was teed up last night in a really, it was well articulated about where there are opportunities for us as advocates. And I think today we're going to deep dive a little bit more in the first several panels. I know Wendy last night teed up, what it takes, what do you have to know, to partner with industry if there's a there. And so we want to make sure that, you, like I said last night, that you walk away today with some real hard next steps, like real actionable next steps. So without further ado, we're going to kick it off. I just want to do a couple of housekeeping items again. For those that weren't here yesterday, we have 0 breaks. So you're going to have to just, go when you need to go. Like we said, the bathrooms are out here to the left down the hallway. Please feel free to leave and come and go as you need. We are going hard until 12:45. So be prepared. We're rolling up our sleeves and really digging in. And I will just say that for the roundtable sessions, when we break after the final panel, I will come back up here and we will all stand up and move to our first choice of our roundtables, and then 30 minutes later, we're going to have everyone stand back up, unless you're a table host, and go to your second choice. Okay, and it's gonna work out great. It's gonna be super energetic, and if there's a reminder, if the table is filled, you're gonna need to find a plan B option. But what we will do after this event, as long as all of the table hosts are open to it, is we will get you guys connected so that you can further your conversations, questions, etc. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage RAREX's fearless leader, Charlene Son Rigby, who's going to tee up the day.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, I don't know how smart this is that I've brought coffee up here, but I needed it. It is bright and early, and it is so nice to see so many of you. I'm really thrilled to look around this room and see, except for the spotlights, to see many familiar faces as well as a number of new ones. So just in terms of a quick personal background, I've spent my career building software applications for analysis of big data, and that's largely been in the healthcare space. And I spent the last 10 years before coming to RAREX focused on AI-driven approaches to analyzing phenotype and genotype data with the purpose of accelerating rare disease diagnostics. And I'm also the mom of a 9-year-old who has a rare neurodevelopmental disorder. And we searched for an answer for what was going on with my daughter Juno for over 3 years. And I realized that that's not a long time, or as long as the search and diagnostic odyssey that many of you in the room had gone through. But we were very excited at the end of 3 years when we got her diagnosis. And it turned out that she had an atypical presentation for STXBP1 disorder, which was why it took us so long to get to the right type of testing to get an answer. So after we got Juno's diagnosis, we started a foundation with 5 other families, and one of my co-founders is here, Melissa Hyoko, which introduced me to the world of advocacy and the challenges of kickstarting research for a very rare and unknown disease. I want to share this story from early in our time as a foundation. So we had organized our first researcher meeting in 2019, and our goal was to come up with our research roadmap. And I was expecting we were going to talk a lot about the next mouse model that we needed to develop and all of the lab work that we were going to do because we had an urgent need to accelerate therapies. And what we came out of that meeting, our number one priority was to develop a regulatory compliant, prospective natural history study. And I remember walking out of that meeting and feeling like I didn't fully understand what that meant, and I actually didn't understand why all of the words had to come together in that precise order. So as it turned out, data collection was very important. And as I started talking with other advocacy groups who were about the same point in their maturity, I realized that we were all starting to do data collection in different ways. And I kept thinking, especially as someone in the software industry, how could we do this in a more scalable way where we were learning lessons together and where we could really have the opportunity to lift all boats. And so last spring, I met Nicole and the RAREX team, and I was really delighted to find out that this team was already working to do that already. And so I joined RAREX in August of last year, and I'm really excited to be able to help the team to scale this critical program and this critical capability that we need in the rare disease community. So here we are at the Exchange, at the Innovator Forum, and this is RAREX's first user event. So I come from the software industry, so this is kind of a common thing to do in the software world. And so for those of you who are already collecting data through the RAREX program, thank you for the faith that you've placed in RAREX during this first year of our data collection program. And for advocates who are here to learn about RAREX and about data collection, welcome. I met someone yesterday, and she got her family's diagnosis 2 months ago. And she was already here at Global Genes, taking it all in and figuring out what her action plan is going to be. And today she's here learning about data collection and RAREX. And I feel like the world of rare disease and progress is just really accelerating, and it's a really exciting time to be involved in rare disease. So I'm here to talk about what's ahead this morning, and I'll try to stay on time. And I'm going to give you a little bit, for those of you who are new, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on RAREX and also provide some updates. And I also want to share what's going on in terms of our roadmap looking forward. And I'll try to tee up a few of the presentations that are coming up for the rest of the day. So I want to start here, and hopefully this is going to work. Miracle. So RAREX is a nonprofit health technology organization, and we are a patient advocacy organization. And for those of you who have met people on our team, we really have brought together those two disciplines, and think that that's a very, very core part of RAREX. So first, we've built a technology platform and a research program to collect robust patient-reported data. And we've also deployed an open science platform that enables collaborative sharing of this data. We talked a lot last night during the first panel about the importance of data and the advances in technology. And I think that there were a number of questions that were asked around how we actually get that data out so that it is utilized. So we get data out so that it's utilized to really drive forward progress in the community. And so RAREX was really designed from the foundation to enable this type of open science. And importantly, a key capability that we have developed is a full-service patient engagement team, and we work really hand in hand with advocates and advocacy groups to drive successful enrollment as well as long-term engagement. So I'm really glad that I'm going to go in a different order. I'm really glad that Wendy Erler and Kirk Lamoureux were able to talk about the power of being counted report last night. And I think that this is why RAREX's cross-disorder approach is so critical. So the number of rare diseases is now over 10,000, and that number is just going up. So the number of rare diseases is going up by something like 300 per year. And the reason for that is that we're now understanding a lot of the underlying etiology of these disorders, where previously we grouped them together. And so our work to characterize this growing number of diseases, to turn them from unknown to poorly characterized to well characterized, that amount of work is just growing. So, and as we learned last night, characterizing these diseases is a critical step to therapy development. So let me go back a slide and talk a little bit about, what are the challenges that RAREX was, really started to address. And you can see those in the left green box. So the first one is data silos. So, traditionally data has been generated within individual projects in academia and in industry, and oftentimes that data was only accessible to the group that collected it. And given that we have a limited number of patients in any individual disorder, this can be incredibly challenging to start to really characterize a disease and use that data to really accelerate research. The second is lack of usable data. So, studies may not have included the data that's necessary to really drive forward drug development, and importantly, a lot of information may not have been collected using data standards, which really complicates analysis and further complicates any efforts to actually aggregate that data or federate it. And third, the biggest challenge that we have in rare disease, which I just talked about in the last slide around the 10,000 rare diseases, is that data often just doesn't exist. And often it's the rare disease advocates, the patients who are kickstarting this research, you guys, and it's often difficult to generate researcher interest if there's no data to start with, and it's expensive to start collecting data. And a final important challenge is that patients have not been empowered to make decisions on the data that they've been contributing. So to address these issues, RAREX deployed a research program and technology platform, and we're doing this across rare diseases. I'm going to talk about a few of the key components in the next couple of slides. So first of all, we've invested heavily in data governance. We manage an umbrella IRB, so we deburden advocates from having to manage an IRB directly. Our governance includes a broad consent, and it also includes a novel data sharing preferences agreement that's separate from the consent, which enables participants to determine how their data can be shared and also to be able to update that over time. We're also investing in data standardization. So with early characterization of diseases, and frankly, even when a disease has been characterized, we don't necessarily know the symptoms that an individual patient will experience because of the heterogeneity of rare diseases. And so what we do is we start here in the center in this red general core with a head-to-toe survey. And then we expand out to deeper data collection depending on the high-level symptoms that a participant reports. Importantly, this approach enables us to collect robust data across rare disorders and make that immediately analyzable and comparable. And all of this data has been collected and mapped to data standards, including the Human Phenotype Ontology, OMIM, SNOMED, others, to facilitate downstream analysis and data federation. So we want to use existing measures to collect data where it's available. And so to that end, the process that we've implemented is that we convene expert working groups to guide our work. And so here's an example. This is actually the first working group that we launched in November of last year for pediatric neurodevelopmental disorders. And so our working groups are comprised of clinicians, researchers, and patient advocacy leaders to really give a multi-stakeholder view. And they start by prioritizing the top symptom domains. Our team landscapes and characterizes the existing patient-reported measures. And then we work to implement those on the platform. So for the pediatric neurodevelopmental disorder group, just to give you a sense of the space, our expert working group prioritized 10 symptom domains, and there were 252 measures that were identified, patient-reported measures that were identified across those 10 domains. Then the work group narrowed that down from 252 to 50 promising measures and finalized this into 13 measures that are now being implemented on the platform. And I'll show you this. I know that you probably can't read it, but this is just to give you this. These are the measures that were selected by our Neurodev working group. We have a few of the members here, so thank you for your contributions. And these are the measures that are now being implemented on RAREX, on the RAREX platform. And then I'm also going to give you another eye chart of the we did a similar process for neurodegenerative disorders that we finished up at the beginning of the summer, and convening a separate working group for this area, and are implementing a similar set of measures now. We're now in the process of completing a neuromuscular working group, and we're going to continue to expand our symptom domains in this way. So I'm very excited about the robust and fast-moving work in terms of expanding our data collection through these working groups. So now I want to give you an update on where we are in terms of our patient communities who are collecting data on RAREX. So here's a snapshot of the communities currently collecting data. We launched the platform in Q3 of 2021, and we now have about 40 communities that are collecting data. And there's a large number of rare neurodevelopmental epilepsies represented. RAREX's work is supporting a growing number of ecosystem partners, and this goes across patient advocates and patient advocacy organizations, as well as researchers and biopharma. And our platform really supports the early research in terms of characterizing diseases, and as well as going further down the line around baseline development and disease progression. And here are some of the types of projects and studies that we can support through the platform. I want to share a couple of use cases that I'm really excited about, and these are really enabled because we can collect robust data across disorders. So in this first one, we're looking at being able to relate overlapping phenotype information on genotype. And so, on the left, AHC, CACNA1A, CMT. These are, some of the ion channel disorders that are collecting data on the RAREX platform. And you can see that this Venn diagram on the right that Carmen on our team put together, really shows how we can start to look at this and relate the genotype information to these overlapping phenotypes. And here's a second use case. We're supporting a new neurogenetics clinic that has launched at Children's Colorado, and the program supports multiple rare neurodevelopmental disorders. What we're doing here is we're supporting the collection of clinical outcome assessments, so the standard data collection on the RAREX platform, as well as clinician-reported data and several disease-specific PROs. This structure really enables us to support a basket-style natural history study, and we're really looking for it to be a scalable model that reduces data collection burden for both the clinicians as well as the participants. And so we have a group presenting that includes that table right there. So Scott Demarest, Bina, Isa, and Vanessa to talk about that in a little bit later this morning. So I'm now going to turn to updates on 2 programs that we have launched this year at RAREX. So the first is our Corporate Advisory Council, which launched in January of this year. And the goal of the CAC is to create a pre-competitive space to discuss issues around data collection as well as data sharing and collaboration. And there are 3 work streams that have launched: data governance, DEI, and research and development. Rachel Groth is leading our R&D work stream with Carmen Supek, who's from RAREX. And Rachel, Carmen, and Wendy Chung are going to talk this morning about disease characterization and developing research roadmaps. We also have a panel on the state of N-of-1 therapies coming up. RAREX is also launching a DEI initiative. So DEI is, a core value for the company and also a core work stream, as you saw in the Corporate Advisory Council slides. And we also issued a landscape report on DEI in early 2022 in February. And taking the learnings from that landscape report, we're working with a number of stakeholders to launch a pilot in Kansas City and the state of Alabama. And this is really about meeting patients where they are and taking a community-based approach to engaging rare disease patients. So we're going to be working to develop a rare disease research network, and really starting by building trust, adding in education, and then working to generate engagement around research. And I'm very excited about the potential of this pilot and what it might mean for DEI efforts in rare disease. So now I want to talk about enrollment on the RAREX data collection platform. I'm excited that we're at almost 1,000 patient participants and 2,000 total participants overall. Across the 40 communities. So what this shows, and I'm sorry about the small font, but what this is showing is % of US community enrolled across many of our disease communities. And we're really excited that we're getting very high participation rates, especially early in the program, from many of our communities. And this is also a way for us to challenge our communities to really focus on how we can work with them to successfully enroll participants in research. So excited about the progress, and excited also for those bars to continue to go up. So let me talk a little bit about, I forgot about this slide. This is another thing that I'm really excited about, and leads to some globalization, a globalization slide I have a little bit later. But we have only launched officially in the US, but clearly there's a need for data collection worldwide. So what you can see here is currently our participation in the DCP is 37% ex-US. And so rare disease knows no geographical boundaries, unfortunately. And I think that this chart with all of the colors of all the countries really indicates that. So we're excited to continue to expand our global presence. So now I'd like to talk about the roadmap, and just give you a sense of all of the things that are happening later this year. So we had a big upgrade of the RAREX data collection platform in Q1, and now we've been starting to onboard new communities every couple of months in classes, and I'm really thankful to Megan and the patient engagement team for driving that process. We're launching new questionnaires on the DCP every quarter, and at the end of this month, we'll be launching the data analysis platform, which means we'll be open for researchers to come and access data. And then there's a couple of other things that I'll highlight in the next couple of slides that I'm excited about. First of all, dashboards. We've launched dashboards for patient advocates and patient advocacy organizations. We're launching our GDPR Compliance program and also genetic curation, and we have a whole genome sequencing pilot that we're launching. So in terms of the patient advocacy dashboards, this is just an example here, but we're really excited about this because our goal is to get the data out there, and that has that's it at many levels in terms of empowering researchers, but also empowering our advocacy community. And so these dashboards enable advocates to understand enrollment and key demographics and other aggregated data on their community. It's all de-identified, but it's, I think, a very important tool that advocacy groups can use to understand what's going on in their community and also use that to promote within their with their researchers. So I mentioned our data analysis platform. We're opening the doors at the end of September to our analysis platform, and I'm really excited about this and appreciative of all the work that our team has been doing in collaboration with the Broad to launch this. And the thing that I want to say is that we've been collecting all of this data, and now we're going to make it available to the research community, which includes citizen scientists. But just because you build it doesn't mean that they will come. And so we are launching an Open Science Data Challenge, which I'll talk about a little bit later this morning, and also talk about a use case from ALS on challenges with Indu Navar. GDPR. So I talked about our growing international footprint, and we take very seriously our need to be compliant and our responsibility from a security and a privacy standpoint. And so we've been working, and I have special thanks to Vanessa for the many things that she does, but she has been my partner in crime, shall we say, in this area. And we've done a ton of work over this year. So GDPR compliance is multifaceted, and I know we hear that term kind of thrown around, but it is, there's a lot of components to it, and I've listed on this slide here a number of the things that we have had to change, including not only changing our privacy policy and our consents, but also implementing processes internally at our organization to ensure appropriate handling of data. And so, this is an important thing that we have implemented, and we're really doing it in a careful way. The other thing we've done is we've appointed a DPO. We have a data protection representative, and we're calling this a GDPR compliance program because when we launch, we are not done. There is going to be ongoing work in this, and there's even in-country work. And of course, GDPR only covers the EU. We are also working on our expansion globally within other regions. So stay tuned for this, but I'm really excited that we are implementing and launching our GDPR compliance program at the end of Q3. So I think this is my last slide, so Nicole, I'm not going to go over. But I wanted to just highlight this because we've had a lot of requests around how do I get my genetic test report, and how do I get my genomic data into uploaded into the RAREX platform. And so I'm excited that we are working, and Carmen has launched a genetic curation working group for us. But in Q4, we will launch a program to be able to curate genetic reports. So participants will be able to upload their data, and we will have a workflow and a team to be able to curate reports. So we'll be able to have very, very robust genotypic information in conjunction with the patient-reported phenotypic information. So I know that this was a lot of information, and it's only 8 a.m. So thank you for sticking through it with me. And I'm very excited about the rest of the day. I will hand things back to Nicole. Thank you.